Hi folks, Vivek from Exam Victor here. In this video, I'd like to talk about the types of numbers. As usual, if you have any feedback or comments, do send me an email at vivek@examvictor.com. Right, so this chart may be familiar to a number of you. If you're very comfortable and very confident with everything on this page, then feel free to move ahead. But if you aren't, or if you would like to refresh your concepts, then do stick around because I found that many of my students come back to me and say that thanks for recommending this video because actually there were things in this that we had forgotten and it's good that we refreshed our memories. Alright, second thing, I'd like to go from bottom to top. In this chart, I'd like to go from bottom to top. Most people go top to bottom, but I found going bottom to top actually makes more sense. So let's start at the bottom. What is 0? Everybody knows. I'm not going to get into philosophy and start thinking about the evolution of 0 and stuff. 0 is 0, alright? No point spending more time there. Natural numbers are the numbers after 0. So you have 1, 2, 3, so on till infinity. Those are natural numbers. It is not the numbers between 1 and 2. It's the actual, just the numbers themselves. So 1, 2, 3, so on. Now you add 0 to the set of natural numbers, you get a set of whole numbers. So whole numbers is nothing but 0 and the natural numbers. So it's basically 0, 1, 2, 3, so on. Alright. They're all positive. And you have 0 which is non-negative. 0 is not called positive, it's called non-negative. To this, now you add a set of negative numbers, right? So you have minus 1, minus 2, so on till minus infinity. You add these two and you get what is called integers. Okay, so integers is basically whole numbers plus negative numbers. So far we've always been talking about just the actual numbers themselves, right? So 1, 2, 3, but nothing in between. The in between stuff are called the fractions. So what is between 1 and 2? Is 0.5 or half, is it between 1 and 2? No, it's not, right? It's between 0 and 1. But if 1 and a half, 1.5, that is between 1 and 2. Both of these are fractions. 0.5, 1.5, both are called fractions. You add integers and fractions, and what you get are called rational numbers. So rational numbers are the set of integers plus fractions. So what does that mean for us? So rational numbers, actually, the mathematical definition is any number that can be written as p by q, where p and q both are integers. That number is called a rational number. That means you're talking about sometimes fractions, sometimes integers, sometimes decimals, right? So now here's a question. How about 5 by 3? Is that a rational number? Yes, it very much is. 5 by 3 is a rational number. You might say that it's a non-terminating decimal, it's 1.666, that's fine. As long as the decimal has a pattern, even if it's non-terminating, that is still a rational number. Irrational numbers are numbers that don't subscribe to this definition. So your non-repeating, non-terminating decimals. These are going to be your irrational numbers. So square root of 2, square root of 3. These never end, right? You can keep finding them. You know that the first few digits are 1.414, 1.732. But after this, what happens? It's just a random pattern of numbers. It doesn't have any pattern. You can't predict the next digit. So these are irrational numbers. You join rational and irrational numbers and you get a set of real numbers. And honestly, this is where you need to stop. You don't need to know what is complex numbers and imaginary numbers and stuff. That is not there in the syllabus for CAT or any other MBA entrance exam or aptitude exam. It's not there in the syllabus. So you really need to know everything below real numbers. For our knowledge sake, we can find out imaginary numbers are numbers that can be written in the form a plus ib, where I is the square root of minus 1, if such a thing can exist. Then I is the square root of minus 1, and a number that is in the format a plus ib is an imaginary number. And imaginary numbers plus real numbers, the set is called complex numbers. Doesn't matter, we don't have to care about this side. This stuff is not applicable to us. We need to worry only about what is below real numbers. Okay, so now some cool things, some odd and even numbers. Again, if this is basic for you, if this is simple, feel free to move ahead. But like I said, many students have come back to me and said that so this was actually useful for us. So odd and even numbers, everybody understands what an odd number is, what an even number is. So I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm going to look at the properties of them. 0 is an even number, alright? First thing, don't get confused. 0 is an even number. So any number that can be divided by 2 is an even number. Any number that cannot be divided by 2 is an odd number, as simple as that. Next property, negative numbers cannot be even. Okay, so let's get that confusion out of the way. Even numbers and odd numbers, negative numbers cannot be even. Even numbers, odd numbers, this thing applies only to natural numbers, okay? Whole numbers rather, 0 and all natural numbers. If you have a product of a number a and the number next to it a plus 1, that is always going to be even. Very simple to understand. Odd numbers and even numbers are basically next to each other all the time. So if this is a set of even, then this is going to be a set of odd. So in a and a plus 1, one of the two is always going to be even for sure. So that's why the product of them is going to be even. Okay. Sum of any number of even numbers is always even. So if you're adding even number 1 plus even number 2 plus even number 3 plus whatever, how many ever you add, this sum will always be even. Sum of an even number of odd numbers is even. So if you're adding 6 odd numbers or 8 odd numbers, then it is even. Otherwise, the sum will be odd. So if you're adding 5 odd numbers, then that sum is also going to be odd. If you're adding 19 odd numbers, that sum is also going to be odd. So now multiples, odd into odd, you get odd. Okay, so if you multiply 2 odd numbers, you get an odd number. But if you multiply even one even number somewhere, then you'll get an even number. So odd into even is even into even is even. Many students come back to me and say, sir, what if it's odd into odd into odd? Still, that's odd. If you mix even one even in here somewhere, so if you have odd 1 into odd so on into odd n, and then you just add 1 or you multiply just one even number in here somewhere, the product will be even. Alright. Basically, even number has 2 as one of its factors. So if you get 1, 2 into the mix somewhere, then you know that the answer will also be divisible by 2, which is the definition of an even number. So that's why if you mix even one even number in the product somewhere, then the product, the final result will be even. Alright. Now another way to segment numbers is prime numbers, co-prime numbers and composite numbers. What is a prime number? Something that is very important nowadays in the field of network security. But for us giving aptitude entrance exams, all we need to know is this definition. Prime number is basically a number which is divisible only by 1 and itself. So it has only two factors. One is the number itself and the other is the number 1. That is a prime number. An example would be, let's say 19. 19 can be divisible only by 1 and itself. So it can be written as 1 into 19. There's no other way you can write it. 2, 3, 4, 5, nothing works, right? So that is a prime number. Composite number is the exact opposite of a prime number. It has other factors than 1 and itself, right? 1 and itself is going to be the factor anyway, but it might have 2, 3, some other number. So an example would be 18. 18 can be written as 3 into 6, which is again 3 into 2. So 18 is 3, 3, 2. So it has so many other factors also. So it is a composite number. A co-prime number, there is nothing called a co-prime number. Co-prime is always going to be a set of two numbers. So it's always plural, right? Co-prime numbers. Co-prime numbers are any two numbers which have no common factors other than 1. Okay, so these are not actually necessarily prime numbers, but it's just that they don't have any common factor other than 1. Simple example would be 15 and 16. 15's factors are 3 into 5. 16's factors are just 2 into 2 into 2 into 2. So you see that they have no common factors other than 1. 1 is a factor of both, of course. So these are called co-prime numbers. So 15 and 16, neither of them is a prime number, but they are co-prime to each other. So this co-prime is a not extremely highly used concept, I would say, but does come in handy in some questions sometimes. Mostly the question will revolve around you knowing the definition of a co-prime, what it means. So that's why I've explained it. Co-prime numbers are two numbers that have no common factors other than 1. Alright. Another small trivia, 1 is neither prime nor composite. Okay, 1 is something special. You can't call 1 a prime number or a composite number. Just a fact. Some more useful facts. 2 is the lowest prime number. Okay, it's the smallest prime number. So prime numbers start from 2. 2 is also the only even prime number. Every other prime number in the universe is odd. Why? Obviously because even numbers have 2 as a factor. So even numbers cannot be prime by definition. But 2 is a prime number. It's the only number which is even and a prime number. Other fact, any prime number that is greater than 3 can be written in this format, 6k plus 1 or 6k minus 1, where k is a natural number. Take an example. Like we used 19 earlier. 19 can be written as 18 plus 1, which is 6 into 3 plus 1. Take any other example you want. Say 23. 23 can be written as 24 minus 1, which is 6 into 4 minus 1. This is true for pretty much, this is all the prime numbers greater than 3. They can be written as 6k plus 1 or 6k minus 1. Again, is it going to be directly useful in the question that will come in CAT this year? I don't know. These are all good facts that you should have in mind. So it's better to know them and memorize them rather than figure out the exam later. One thing that we do stand by at Exam Victor is that I'm not going to pump you full of useless trivia that is good to show off when you're standing in a circle of friends but otherwise comes in no use at all in the exam. So the stuff that I'll have in the videos here would be stuff that I believe is useful or I've seen in questions and that actually can be applied. Okay, another two things before we wrap up this video. What is a factorial? Factorial is something we are going to go into in much more depth and detail when we look at permutations and combinations, because that whole topic revolves around factorials. But the definition of factorial, so when you write n factorial, this exclamation mark is called factorial, right? It's denoted by this exclamation mark. N factorial just means, it's a notation to mean this expression. It's 1 into 2 into 3 into so on into n minus 1 into n. So 6 factorial would be 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5 into 6. Just understand this definition for now. Why is it? What will I do with it? We'll go into that in detail in the permutations and combination section. Okay, the P and C section just revolves around factorials. Another thing, the absolute value of a number. You take a number and you put these two bars around it. That is called the absolute value of that number, and it is written as mod of A. So if I see this thing, if I see these two bars around say minus 10, then I would say this is mod of minus 10. What does this operation do? It's a mathematical operation. It just strips off the sign from a number. It just removes the sign. So this is going to be equal to 10. So if I do mod of anything, then it just is that number itself without the sign. Okay. So mod of 23 is just 23. Mod of minus 23 is also 23. Mod just removes the sign from the number. And that is called the absolute value of the number. Okay, so these were some basic concepts in numbers. This is Vivek from Exam Victor. Thanks for watching.